a customer knows the 737 USSD code. It's become quite popular. Many banks, in fact, have also picked up their own USSD codes and have done interesting things from there. So USSD came in from that angle of the banks. But the interesting thing we've noticed is that in the following years after that, popularity has grown among non-fintechs. So ideally, the way USSD is designed, it fits for any use case. So far, you want customer engagement. But the banks find this very useful because there is an identifier, which is a mobile number, and they can easily track transactions against their users using the mobile number. But then non-fintechs have also found interesting ways to do this. Some of the interesting ways have been FMCGs looking around ways to build their brand, do promotions around USSD. It's been an interesting concept that has continued to grow and grow. USSD is a very interesting technology for Africa and Nigeria, where we live in, because of some interesting factors. First of all, is that USSD is one way you can connect to your customers who do not have internet. The truth is, if you are a brand and you intend to target all your customers, you have to then sit back and ask yourself the question, what medium do I want to use? The conventional mediums like social media, and all that, they do help you reach a target audience, but you have to ask yourself, will you be willing to let go of a particular percentage that might not necessarily be available online? And so based on such decisions that you have to make, you start looking at using USSD, because USSD can help you reach people who are offline, people who suffer from poor internet, expensive internet, who might not necessarily go to the internet as their first source of information. The other good thing is that it works on all GSM mobile phones, so there is no issue with compatibility. Even those who use the older versions of the older phones and so can still dial USSD codes and interact with it. There's also a lack of complexity. So most of the problems we have with new technology is the older generation find it hard to adapt to it. Most of us still have our fathers and mothers who still are trying to figure out ways to use social media and so. But the good thing about USSD is the complexity is low, and so anyone can engage with it, and it has a very easy learning curve. As far as FMCG brands goes, there's a lot that the brand can do to promote a product. I mean, I don't work in an FMCG brand myself, but I've as a customer of some of these products, I've seen them do interesting stuff. I've seen them do cashback. So you buy a product, and after typing a particular code on the product or something, you get a particular cashback. There's also been those who have used social media. There's also been those who have decided to sponsor popular shows. Big Brother Nigeria, I think, is one of the biggest shows in the country at the moment. We've seen what guys like Dano, guys like Guinness have done to promote that. And I'm sure it's gone a long way to advance their brands. And so USSD's biggest strength, I would say, when it comes to sales promotion is its ability to reach offline customers like we have discussed. So that's a good thing you want to have, especially when you're working in a space like Africa or working in a place like Nigeria. The good thing about USSD, the other one of the many good things, is that the way the flow is designed, it supports interaction. If you've ever used the USSD code before, it's a back and forth relationship. So you dial a code, you get a response, you respond, you get a response, and then it goes like that. So it supports customer interaction. And so brands can use this to interact with their customers. We have like I said, we have guys doing interesting stuff with it. The banks tend to use this most, but other verticals also use it. USSD also gives you, the brand, a traceable identifier for the user. So when someone dials a USSD code, one of the information that always comes with the dial is the phone number. And so what that means is that you can track users. One of the many things that data in this current day and age is trying to do is to identify. So not only are we trying to gather data from every single person, we also want to identify a particular user and sort of pick his trend from there. So USSD gives you an identifier, which is the mobile number. And so with that identifier, you can track things. Or maybe this guy is one person who frequently does your promotions that you do over USSD? Do you want to reward him in a particular way, or things like that? You could also decide to use it to support your customers and do surveys at the end of the day. Brands do need to know what people think about them, right? And so it's important for them to push out things, to try to see, to get customer insights on that. If you do decide to use one of the popular ways now, there's always the question of how far can it go. So maybe you've reached out to an agency who is willing to walk on the streets and interview people about your product. How far can it really go? Are you sure you're going to get enough target, enough sample to base that on? Or do you want to do, I don't know, do you want to do online campaigns? Then of course you're thinking of dropping off some offline users. USSD can help with that. You could push your USSD code along with your product. So you already know that those who are going to be interfacing with that USSD code, they at least know your product. And so that's a richer sample size for a survey or anything you do decide to do. Like I've said, some of the creative ways that brands go around using USSD. There are so many ways, but one of the things I've seen personally from working with USSD and some of the brands is most FMCG brands do it for instant cashbacks, and I've seen guys do it for both retailers and for the customers. It's interesting. We had a company called Budweiser. It's quite a popular brand. It's grown really well in Nigeria. One of the things they had done while coming in was to do a promo where if you buy the beer, you open the cap, you see the code, and then you can dial and retrieve that. They pushed that promo at a very strategic time. I think that was when football was returning, and they had just signed a contract with Lionel Messi, I think it was. So it helps push their brand far. And now we know that for those of us who enjoy the occasional hangouts on the weekends, we know that Budweiser has become a frequent brand when it comes to in that particular space. So the mobile number, the identifier, like I said, helps put an identity to the data. And so that means that any customer that interfaces with your USSD code, you can identify, and you can decide to save that data. You can decide to do interesting things with that data. You could also use such a sample size, say those who have used your promotions for specific targeted surveys, and you can decide to go around that in that way. So USSD as a whole has been around for a long time. There doesn't seem to be much innovation going on as to how the service itself is. It's been established for a while. Of course, we have guys like Google and co who are trying to change the way the whole telecommunication space works. But so far, USSD is what it is what it is. But what does the future look like for USSD then? Well, we do know that we're going to keep seeing more adoption and more innovation around it. Like I said, we started out with banks, right? Everybody knows their bank codes in most cases, and they use this frequently on a daily basis. But then we have guys who are also coming up with interesting ways to use USSD. And it's now moving away from just something that the fintechs do to something that anybody can use to reach his brand, for his customer to reach his brand. Of course, just like with any technology, there are pros and cons, and there are challenges that you have to deal with. So what are some of the challenges that USSD as well? There's this. If you've used USSD before, you might notice that there are a few constraints because of the way the technology itself is. So USSD, like I said, it's quite old, it's quite rigid as well. So there is a particular amount of time that is allowed for a user to respond. And so as a brand, you have to deal with that. Of course, I know in most cases, most of these brands just engage companies who are familiar with this technology, and they can find their interesting ways around that. But one of the ways that a brand could try to target some of those issues is to make the flow, the USSD flow, the interaction with the user, as seamless and clear as possible. You want the user to understand what he's trying to do and spend less time thinking about what to do. Because when the user spends time thinking, then time keeps going. And then by the time he responds, maybe the session would have timed out. We've also seen cases where some telcos cannot render lengthy information, like MTN. They don't seem to process USSD menus that are very long, and so the brand has to be very specific about the message content. Some brands can choose to paginate, which means that you enter a particular key to move to the next section of the information. But in most cases, if you want to target your user, you can strip it down to just one page that the user can see, understand, and move on from there. So those are many of the interesting points around USSD. Those are some of the insights around USSD. I would like to wrap up my talk here.
Thank you very, very much, Oladayo. I think to further through more point on this, what about pricing? I find that pricing of USSD is one question a lot of people have. What's with it with pricing? Is it expensive? Is it affordable? There's been a lot of talk over the years in Nigeria around, there's been a lot of kickback, especially with the banks and telcos. What's that situation like? How affordable is USSD for any brand that wants to adopt it?
Okay, thanks for that question. So like I had said, banks were the ones who brought the attention to USSD. So quite naturally, when a lot of attention started to go there, most guys started to see USSD as being used by the banks, and that included the regulation. So some of the regulations that were coming out regarding pricing were specifically targeted at the banks, but in a sense, they also apply to other users of the USSD code. What we've started to notice though, is that there's sort of like a divide now coming where some of these regulations are specifically targeted at the banks. Like for example, the recent regulation regarding users dialing the USSD code and a bank's USSD code, and there's a prompt that asks them if they are willing to be charged X amount. I know I've noticed that when dialing my USSD code, that doesn't apply to the regular USSD code. It is just applied to the banks. But at the same time, there is a challenge around billing regarding USSD. There's no doubt about that. Some of the telcos have chosen different billing models. So for example, with what we've seen, MTN would decide that they would never bill the users airtime. So as a brand, you have to take the hits for that cost. While Glow, on the other hand, has taken a totally different outlook and said, we bill the users airtime. We have no business billing you as a client. Fortunately, Nine Mobile and Airtel, they've both adopted a very flexible model where you can decide if you want to bill the users airtime, you can decide if you want to pay for the cost. But such issues around pricing are what brands might have to deal with. But then again, it's really just having an idea of which route you want to go. We've seen brands who come and say, I want to foot the bill for this thing. I don't want my customers to pay at all. But then what happens with Glow, where the customer is paying? They have a model where after you finish dialing the code, they refund you with the airtime for that particular session that you've used up. As for the pricing itself, it is what it is. There's really not much fighting that one can do into that. But we've advised many clients on how they can work at reducing the costs. Some of the things they've done is, if, for example, it's a particular campaign around, say, for example, the Budweiser thing, where you buy the product and you open it and then there's a code, you could work your flow in a way that once the user dials the USSD code, imputes the particular code for that promotion, it gets a response instantly and the session is ended. So in such a case, you're not looking at extending beyond a particular length of time, which would attract more costs, because the billing model in Nigeria is time-based. So the more time a user spends on the code, the more they charge. So we do help users, help customers think around some of these challenges and figure it out.
All right. Thank you very much. I think there was one more question before we move on to the next speaker. We can just take that quickly. And he asked, Amaninda asks, what about data protection in terms of personal identification and likelihood of being misused or sold?
Okay, that's a frequent question we get. So the thing is that Africa Stalking, for example, we really do not engage in the business of selling data or any of that. We have some conditions in our SLA that we try to make that clear. But then again, as the consumer of the service, right, there are certain things that we can do on the technology side to make sure that the data is secure. For example, we would really advise that your callback URL, which is where we'll be sending you the data, is SSL secure. So what that means is that the communication is encrypted and things like that. We're also working on some interesting ways to sort of encrypt data for even those viewing the dashboard, because what some feedback we had gotten from customers was that, yeah, this is my USSD interaction with my client. I have people in my company, obviously, who might need to see some data, but I don't want them to see all the data. I want them to see just a particular data. I don't want data to seep out through that end. So some of the things we're doing is listening to that, looking at ways we can encrypt some data on the dashboard, and just so we can see that different people in an organization with different access levels can see a particular type of data, a particular data, and just try to close out things on that end.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very, very much, Oladayo. That was extremely insightful. I'm sure with respect to the data concerns, Abdul would also do justice to that when it comes to his time to speak. Without further ado, we'll be moving on to the next speaker. Please welcome Babatunde Adenaike, who is the Marketing Activity Manager at Flour Mills of Nigeria PLC. And he will be talking us through how USSD can be an extremely useful tool in running consumer promotions. Babatunde, the floor is yours.
Hi, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here today. And most of what I'll be, talking about will be looking at the platform from more of a consumer perspective and how brands can actually use the platform to engage better and of course get better return on investment. So Oladayo, I think, has done a really great job on explaining what the platform is and how it works. So for a brand, things that you want to look at is how can you improve your engagement with your audience, right? If you look at some of the statistics around digital media, in Nigeria, we have, I think, in 2021, about 104 million internet users. If you compare that to number of social media users, which is at about 33 million, you see that there's a huge gap. So as a brand, we know that technology adoption is growing. More people have phones, more people have smartphones, but how many of them are actually active social media users, right? So if you want to reach as many consumers as possible, whether new users, new consumers, or existing consumers, you want to make sure that you can increase that net, right? And one of the easiest ways to do that is through USSD, because as long as you have it's a phone, basically, a brand can engage with you, right? So if you have a campaign that you want to run, and this is one of the ways that we've been able to do it, we, of course, would have to run some sort of communication, whether through traditional media or even on pack. Alada had given an example of Budweiser. And for some of our brands, especially during our 60th anniversary campaign, what we did at Golden Penny was to put QR codes and a USSD number on each of our packs. So, we're talking about millions of packs here that goes to almost every area in Nigeria, or pretty much every area in Nigeria. So for any consumer who has an interaction with that pack, then there's a potential for us to engage with you through this platform. So one of the key things, again, is the speed, and simplicity. For most of us, I'm sure if you have engaged with any particular consumer promotion where you were told that you had to go somewhere to redeem a price, you'd most likely be reluctant, because by the time you consider, okay, how much is it going to cost me to redeem this price? What's the value of the price? At the end of the day, you might be left with a more negative impact than a positive impact. But with USSD, engaging with the audience directly, you can actually ask questions, get the information you want. If it's a loyalty program where there are unique codes, they enter the code and then they can actually receive a notification of their reward instantly, so that simplicity is there and it's very, very important. Another thing is trust, and I think for us, a lot of times people who engage with consumer promotions, sometimes when they do not receive their rewards, maybe because of the difficulty of the promotional mechanics, it starts to feel like, these brands are actually not even being honest with them, right? So for us, one of the ways we've been able to mitigate against that and to improve, the positive impact of these promotions is to make the reward as instant as possible. So it's either we are rewarding with airtime or data. In some cases, we reward you with a voucher that you can then use to complete a transaction on, any platform that we choose, or you get an instant message about maybe a physical reward with clear instructions of how to pick, or we actually even have it delivered to you, So these are some of the ways we've been able to use the platform for enriching our consumer promotions. So some of the challenges that we've experienced for us, especially in the FMCG, I think for the beverage industry, it's simpler because I think the technology there for printing codes on the bottles under the cap has been developed and is more advanced. But for us, of course, food safety is a factor we always have to consider. So sometimes we are unable to actually print unique codes on all of our packs, right? Because the product inside the pack interacts directly with the packaging material. So, there are obviously regulatory requirements to make sure that, there's no contaminants. So what we've been able to do is to sort of change the objective of the campaign. So one objective you could have if you are running a promotion using the USSD platform would be to run a loyalty program where for every product you buy, you can either win points or you can win airtime or whatever reward you want to choose. But we can also, we've also used or changed the objective to be just getting data and getting insights. And again, that shows one of the benefits of the USSD platform, because you can easily scale it up, right? You don't necessarily, or you are not necessarily restricted geographically, so as long as your pack or your communication materials can reach there, you can engage with people. And like Oladai had mentioned, so you get a pack, maybe there's a code, you dial, we can actually capture your phone number, we can capture your name, we can capture your location. And what this data can then be used for is to see, how wide the penetration of that product is. You can take an example of a new brand or a new product that has been launched. So if you want to see your penetration level, you could decide to set your objective to just capture data, capture the location of where this product is being used. You can also see the volume of, engagement that you are getting across the different geopolitical zones. So this can actually help you inform where you want to then channel some of your traditional marketing communication efforts or your trade promotions, or just a deeper level of engagement with the audience. So we're able to actually get the demography of these people, and a company like MTN are even able to give you more like a spending, an idea of how much these consumers spend. So that way you can actually even understand their level of income, and this is very, very good for brands to, plan their promotional activities and their communication activities. We can also use it to understand user behavior. What time of the day are people picking up the packs, or what time of the day are people engaging with you? This can help you plan your campaigns better and know when to send out your communication, ultimately helping you, reduce your cost of communication and have better return on investment. So why does it matter for FMCG brands? I think we've talked about that. And another important thing is that with USSD, you can actually go into new markets faster. So even if you don't necessarily have strong presence in that market, and this has happened with us from experience, where we actually find people sending in messages from a location where we actually didn't originally have the products. So we weren't selling into that particular region, but we saw that we were getting entries from those locations. So, it helped us understand that there's actually an opportunity to enter that market, and there's a potential to grow and to expand to those regions. So talking about, I think I've talked about the limitations, the future. What does the future hold for USSD? I think that's more of a technical question. But for brands, I believe that any opportunity to continue to engage with our audience is absolutely welcome. We know that in Nigeria specifically, the pressure on the Naira has been very, very hard. Disposable income is shrinking. So people do not have as much disposable income as they used to. So, data penetration, I don't know, maybe it's going to decline, because people need to then decide, okay, do I want to spend my money on buying data, or do I want to spend my money on buying food, right? But with USSD, whether there's data or not, we can still ensure that we are able to reach these people. We also use the USSD platform to, run very short surveys, because you don't want to have your audience, thinking too much or taking too much time. Of course, for cost implication reasons, and again, just from a user experience point of view, so quick questions, 1, 2, 3 questions, we can get some useful insights that we can then plan or use to plan some of our marketing activities. So I believe I've covered most of the points. If there's any question, I am happy to answer them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much, Babatunde. Indeed, you covered the topic excellently well, showing how USSD can be used for a lot of promotions. If anyone has questions, please feel free to drop them in the comment section, and we will take them once we are done with all the speakers. We will have another discussion session once everyone has finished speaking. Just in case a lot of us don't know, a lot of the promotions that Babatunde spoke about were promotions that were run using Checkit's USSD solution. So it would be great for any one of you to check it out. If you have questions about it, you can drop them in the comment section, and we will do well to answer every one of them as we move along. So we're moving on now. We know what USSD solutions are and how they work. Babatunde has been able to show us practically how his brand Flour Mills has used them for different brands that they in their portfolio. And now let's move on to how exactly it can drive insights. We know already it's a great solution. We know that it can drive engagement. So how can it drive insights? And to help us discuss that, please welcome Abdul. Abdul is the Chief Product Officer at Checkit Technologies, and he will be walking us through how you can leverage USSD to gain very invaluable insights. Abdul, you have a presentation, so I'll make you a host right about now, so you can share that with us. So I will stop sharing mine.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much. Oladayo and Babatunde, thank you so much for the amazing insight you guys do. Can you guys hear me well?
Yes, we can.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So yeah, I do have a presentation. Yeah, you can see my screen. Yeah. Okay. So so pretty much, the topic we are discussing today is pretty interesting because of two things really. One, it's at the core of what we do at Checkit, and secondly, USSD also represent like the future of what customer engagement and consumer promotions would be as well. So yeah. So pretty much like the other speakers have spoken about like what it is, just how USSD started, and the kind of diverse applications that it has, right? Yeah. So like so maybe I don't need to talk too much about this, right? I mean, because like way early, you started from banks, like other that stated, right? But now like it's doing so much more, like from customer interaction to payments, to verification stuff like that. Yeah. So now yeah, the Babatunde also spoke a lot about like how, I mean, like why USSD, like in terms of like why is such a very popular technology, right? So like happening, right? It's a very real-time based it's a very real-time based technology, right? It's quite easy to use, right? And you don't need to be technical before you can dial USSD code here. And again, it's also also coming like that two-way communication mode. Right? So to like now distill like what we've been leaning to the morning, right? Or like what we've been talking about to the morning, right? And like see a more practical use of how it's really so like happening in a company like Checkit, right? So so again, like I said, right, like USSD is something that we do. I mean, that we use a lot, at Checkit, right? Like I'm pretty much, if you think about like some of the core services that we offer at Checkit, right, from product identification to consumer data collection, there's consumer promotions and and engagement, right? Like USSD is like one channel that we very much are paying attention to and also do, right? So so in terms of so again, please permit me. Now I'm going to be like a salesman for Checkit, because I'm not trying to so like the real value of what we bring at Checkit, right? And why USS is very key to that. Right? So in terms of like what we promise brands, we tell them that using our technology, we can allow like where exactly your customers are. You can go millions and millions of customer database, right? And you can also understand like who they are, right? And also spot patterns, right? And like more importantly, and like the topic I'm going to talk about, which is like consumer insights in USSD, right? Like this is something that we see a lot, right? So imagine a flour mill, like running a campaign, and we're seeing millions and millions of people, like daily USSD code, right? And we are seeing like how people are also like responding to to services attached to this USSD code, right? So like it gives us also like insights into like what people are really expected from the brand, or like from the brand standpoint, and how much more like the brand needs to do, like to keep those customers, in their belt, right? So now, so how do we do it at Checkit, right? So so pretty much we have like a whole of channels, that we pipe like USSD applications, right? So for instance, we have some people, some brands work with us, and we give them our USSD code, right? So which can lead like say the customer to a microsite, or it can also be an an in-store promotion, right? Or then so when the customers sort of like get to these like channels, right? Then they get to answer some survey questions, right? So those survey questions are what is really important to the brands that we service here. So those brands are so those survey questions are now what we reward people on, right? Oh, so you have taken your time to interact with this brand, right? You have taken some questions that also help the brand improve, right? So yeah, you get some incentives for doing that, right? Then also, so I have like this short video, just to show you like how like some brands have been really working with us, like in terms of DGS directly. So for instance, this is something that we do with Coca-Cola, right? So we had a campaign where like they wanted people to be rewarded and also so that answer some questions. Yeah. So and you win points from it. It's quite exciting, really. Yeah. So people take survey questions and they get to win rewards and yeah, correct, exactly. Yeah. So now so we talked about how it helps consumers. Now to talk about how it helps the companies that we also represent as well, right? So we have like a powerful dashboard where you get to see like a lot of deep insights into like what people are doing when they interact with the USSD campaign that you're going to check it, right? So for instance, like some of the popular insights that we dish out to these brands are where your customers are, right? Like what kind of like where exactly like in the part of the world are they, right? Like when are they buying this? Like when are they buying a product, right? Where and when, like I mean, right, which store are they using, right? Like to buy a product now, right? Then also, so by the time we also sort of like distributing the incentives that people that we're giving people, right? We also show you like how we are doing that as well, right? And like you can also get to see like at the full glance like who are everybody that is that's sort of like started with the platform and also win some sort of rewards. So so case in point is this product called Local Fried, right? So this product is pretty much helping people with diabetes, right? So we were engaged, to help them, to like understand people that are using the product more, right? And like our approach is pretty simple, right? So we have this like powerful, stickers that we have on each of the products, right? So we stick it on the product and they are taken into the pharmacy stores, right? So when people come to the pharmacy stores to buy these drugs, right? Then you get to like do two things that they go, right? Number one, like you get to first check whether the product that they're actually consuming is actually original, right? And secondly, they're also checking, like I mean, they're also sort of like giving feedback to the parent company, which is MEC, right, about like the way they are feeling, like about using the product, right? I think like one of the exciting, I got just a question that I asked, like earlier was like are these customers having side effects, like using these drugs and all, right? So it's interesting, like we had a lot of people in like giving feedback as to how they are feeling, taking the drugs. So yeah, so pretty much like in terms of how like USSD can be crystallized to help brands, drive engagement and also understand the consumers better. So I hope I've been able to do something like justice to like the way we are sort of like helping brands and check it, do that more. So yeah, I'm very much looking for questions now. Please, if you have any questions and so like partnership and all like this, reach out to me this email and see other stuff. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Abdul. I think you can make me a host back. So we go on with the session. So I think to go right straight into the question and discussion session, I would like to throw this out to anyone who would like to answer this between Abdul, Babatunde, or Oladayo. With respect to insights and collecting data, what kind of data can you collect over USSD, and what kind of data can't you collect over USSD? I think I can throw this to Oladayo. What kind of data can you collect and what type of data can't you collect with USSD?
So there's a series of data that almost already comes with the USSD DAO. So like the mobile number, the network, and those specific data. There are some that you can demand from the customer. For example, Babatunde had mentioned capturing the user's name. You can ask for the user's location. Unfortunately, you can't get the precise location because we've been having difficulties with the telcos giving us a specific pinpoint for the user's location. I don't know if they are currently giving it to anybody out there, but I don't think so. But you can demand, you can ask the user, hey, which area are you dialing from, and get that data. You could ask for, there's a lot of data you could ask for. You could ask for date of birth if that is necessary, and some of those user specific data.
Okay, awesome. Anyone wants to throw more light on that? Abdul, Babatunde?
So yes, so in terms of like data that we can collect, right? So for instance, we make data like where are you so like buying this product from? What kind of network are you even using? Like what kind of phone are you also using? Right? So this kind of data also helps like brands with more insights now.
Yeah, and just to add to that, so sometimes we also ask questions about, their age range. So that gives you an idea of, again, the demography, knowing better the people you're talking about. Can obviously always ask for their gender. What's most important is just making sure that these are very short questions. You don't want to have a very long session, so things that they can reply to instantly. You can do as much as you can with that.
Okay, and then for Babatunde, how has been the adoption of this by your consumers? What has been the rate of usage, and has this actually translated to an increased sales in the period where USSD campaigns were run by your brands?
So the best way to answer that question is to talk about the scale at which we plan to, or most of the objectives that we've set out to achieve, the scale. So for one of the campaigns, it was more of an awareness drive. So we wanted to create awareness about our brands, and that was for our 60th anniversary. So we had unique anniversary packs that were launched into the market across some of our brand categories. So we wanted to get the audience from interacting with the pack to actually interact with either our websites or some of our social media pages, while collecting data and obviously rewarding them for taking this action. And it was quite successful. The turnout was really good. What we did was we combined a QR code for those who are more tech savvy. That kind of QR code, or are not familiar with the process of scanning a QR code. And for one of the other campaigns, it was more localized to the southwestern part of Nigeria. And the interesting thing about that one was, before we even launched the campaign, we already saw people, without any communication from us, people were already kind of interacting with it. So I believe that the adoption has grown. People obviously already know what USSD is and how they can use it. So for any brand or any company who is interested, I don't think there's going to be any challenges with getting your consumers or your customers to actually interact with the platform.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very, very much. I think, and I would also throw this to Abdul. I think someone had asked the question in terms of data protection and then identifying consumers. With respect to what Checkit does, can you walk the audience through how our solution helps mitigate against and is in line with GDPR rules and the likes?
Yeah. Thank you for that. So yes, we're a very data conscious company, right? So pretty much when people interact with our technology, like one of the very first things that we ask them is like, do you consent to us, like recording this session or like taking this data from you? So pretty much like when people say yes, then that means we are now eligible to do some of the things that we do with the that we data. Right? So yes, we're a data conscious company, and yeah, that's it.
And then another question, I think a lot of people have asked me this in the past, is we know a lot of other technologies can be vulnerable to cyber attacks, hacking, and stuff like that. I think this should also be directed at Oladayo. How vulnerable is the USSD solution? Is the USSD technology in general? And what are the security features that have been placed around it to make it viable for use?
Okay, so the USSD solution in itself is quite secure. The reason is that data flows from the user's device to the telco, then from the telco to a service provider like Africa Stalking, and then down to the client. For the communication between the telco and Africa Stalking, it's very secure. We use a VPN for almost all the telcos. So there's really no way that data can seep out of any loose ends and go anywhere. The telcos also are quite secure with that data. Like I said, for connection between Africa Stalking and the client, in most cases, so the way the process flows, we reach out to your application, we push the message to your application. We would need your servers to be secure to an extent, just so that you don't also end up losing information on that side. If it's SSL secured, then you can then we can already guarantee that the communication is encrypted. In some countries, unfortunately not in Nigeria, but in some countries, the telcos provide a particular unique identifier for every mobile number. So it's different from the mobile number. It's just a guarantee that those sessions are indeed coming from the user. None of the telcos in Nigeria provide any of that, but if they eventually do, we would also support that just to make sure that all the data hitting you is can be verified as coming from the user.
Okay, awesome, thank you. I think there's a question here for Abdul. Abdul, this question goes as this: as a quick service restaurant, how can Check It help to increase product promotion using USSD?
Yes, that's a very good one. So so for instance, let's say you probably like sell food in packs, right? That's a very good assumption to make, right? So we can help drive product promotion by helping your brands with
just to take it on from there, I would say one beautiful way we can do that at Check It is, for example, there are different ways we can do it, and usually how we go about creating solutions for clients is to sit down to actually understand their processes and to understand how best we can fit into their system. But in terms of what we already have, I would say you can maybe go ahead and use our sticker labels. So we have small labels that we place on products currently. So you can place that on your takeaway packs, for example. And anyone who buys this, you say maybe you are doing a promotion for free airtime for persons who buy maybe a special type of food. Maybe you are doing a promo on your rice and chicken dishes. So those sticker labels can go on all rice and chicken dish, and people who buy them can then engage by dialing the code on that product to participate in that promo. Or you can go ahead and print a USSD code on all your takeaway packs, one USSD code on all your takeaway packs, encouraging people to dial, so you know that people who get to see that USSD code, for example, are people who must have bought your takeaway packs. Another way, which it's an outside shot, and I think it's also a way that over the next coming months and years will become quite popular, is actually using perhaps the receipts that you issue some of these people who purchase products from your stores. So a USSD code with a unique PIN can be printed on those receipts automatically from the POS machines, and as people buy these products from the receipts, then they can then engage. So you know that anyone who is getting a receipt obviously has bought a product, and they can engage through these receipts. So these are just one of the few ways that Checkit can actually help increase product promotions and increase engagement with people who are shopping from your restaurant. And beautiful part is that this can be deployed easily across all outlets, for example, in the country for any restaurant brand in particular. But if you want more detailed responses, more detailed solutions, you can always send us a mail. My email is tosin@checkitapp.com. The company's email is hello@checkitapp.com, or just visit www.checkitapp.com and then request a demo of our solution, and we will definitely get back in touch with you to walk you through all this. We are almost out of time. Questions from anyone? I will throw this open now. So if anyone has a question or a suggestion, you can go on and unmute yourself and ask it, or drop your question. I think in the next 2 minutes, if anyone has a question or a suggestion or a contribution to the topic that we have been discussing, the floor is yours. You can go ahead and do that right now. Is there anyone? Okay. Okay. So I think someone is on mute. Vivian, are you saying something?
Okay. Yes.
Okay,
can
awesome.
you hear?
Yes, we can hear you. Good afternoon. Good
afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for this webinar. It has been quite insightful. So I'll just go straight to the question. Now, with the advent of blockchain, I know this is not a blockchain discussion, but of course, with the advent of blockchain and how that has been adopted to supply chain, how do you see USSD being integrated into product tracking, just as the way blockchain assists or helps in terms of tracking within the supply chain network? Can I come again, please?
Yes, you can come again, by all means.
Okay. So basically, just as you can adopt blockchain to assist in supply chain tracking, so from end to end, so from the place where raw material is sourced or gotten from to the final consumer. I'm also looking at the use of USSD in order to also ensure for transparency and to also ensure for confidence, basically customer loyalty. Now, do you particularly have a program that revolves around this? And is it something that you're looking at adopting in the nearest future? Thank you.
Okay, Vivian, I would think, is that question directed to Checkit, or is directed across board to any of our speakers?
Okay, yes. So let me direct this question to Checkit, and I've forgotten his name now. So the guy from the company, the guy from the company that provides services, USSD services.
Okay.
I'd like to go both of you.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you very much for your question, Vivian. Oladayo, do you have any comments with respect to that?
I'm sure. So that's an interesting concept. At the moment, I don't know of any partner we have that is attacking that in particular. But I can say that on paper, based on what USSD is, it's a customer interaction tool. If there were to be a case where you would need, during the flow of the product, you would need to get some interaction from the parties involved, maybe a confirmation, maybe some sort of promotion, I don't know, whatever it is you need to get, then USSD can fit its way into that. As to the specific modalities of that, I can't figure it out right now. And unfortunately, we don't have any particular partner who is attacking that in particular, but it's workable.
Yeah, so to also drive, just to touch on that also, if I don't know if many of the people on the call know, Check It is also a blockchain company. All our solutions are built on a blockchain network, Phantom Opera network to be exact. So every single interaction that happens on our USSD channel is logged on a blockchain network. So that answers the part of the blockchain of the blockchain. As a matter of fact, it's our vision that maybe one day Check It will be able to distribute cryptocurrency via USSD. Who knows? So stay tuned to Check It. You might see that in the future. So, but in terms of real-time tracking, so yes, USSD can play a role in it, but the role might not necessarily be in the real-time tracking. So as these products are moving, which it's something that we already kind of do, as these products move, understand that as it leaves the warehouse, it will get to, for example, the distributor, it will get from the distributor to the retailer. So USSD can play a role in the verification of these products as it gets to, for example, as it gets to the distributor's point. The distributor wants to confirm that I have received these goods, or that this goods is okay by me. USSD can come in there to play a role. So they can dial a USSD code to see that, oh, this parcel, this shipment was coming directly from the manufacturer, and everything is as is. Nothing has been tampered with. And then as it moves again down to the retailer, for example, the retailer can also then verify that shipment or those goods, that this is as or as was sent from the manufacturer's warehouse. This can be applicable in places with low internet, because we have distributors in places and retailers in places where internet penetration are not so great. So these are possible ways that USSD can be used in the tracking and the tracing of the movement of these goods. Yes, Check It has some has done a lot of work around this space. We have a solution that actually does real-time tracking and tracing, but it doesn't necessarily work with USSD. We utilize things like RFID tags and stuff like that for actual real-time tracking. So yes, USSD can play a role in the verification of these products as they get to any point that they are being offloaded or sent to. Vivian, I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. We're already running out of time, so I would just want to take the last words from you, Babatunde. What advice would you give to brand managers, marketing managers who are probably contemplating, is USSD the right channel for me to use? What advice would you give them?
Thanks a lot. I think just from an integrated marketing or integrated communications point of view, it's always essential to make sure that you have all your stakeholders involved in your communication plan. So while traditional media and digital media, social media are still popular, the engagement is critical. And I think the USSD platform can provide the necessary support to reach your audience, get some insight from them, and of course execute your sales and consumer promotions a bit more efficiently and quickly. So I think that's just my advice, and it will be interesting to know who was asking about the quick service restaurants. I mean, we are a food brand, so there's always opportunities to collaborate. So if you need to, you can get my contact details. We have amazing brands. We can always look out for opportunities to work together. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much, Babatunde. Mayowa, that's for you. So in case you want to get in touch with Babatunde, you can reach out to anyone on the Check It team. My email is tosin@checkitapp.com. Shoot me an email and I would make well to introduce and link you up with Babatunde. Oladayo, any last words from you for our audience and anyone else who is still contemplating the adoption of USSD?
Sure. My last words are similar to Babatunde. So the USSD technology is quite advanced and it's here to stay. There's no doubt about that. Now would be the best time to start looking at interesting ways you can fix this into your business, especially as you look at targeting offline users. Would be helpful to work with companies who are actually familiar with these products. Check it, for example, Africa Stocking, to make sure that they sit down with you and sort of build a unique use case for you. It might be possible that you might not be going with one of the very common things now, but we surely can work out something that would be good for the business.
All right. Thank you very much, Oladayo. I think Abdul has joined us. Abdul, we are taking last words. Any last words from you for people who want to start deploying USSD for their promotions and consumer engagement activities?
It's simple. Just come to check it. Apologies, guys. My system fried, so I had to. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Abdul. Don't worry. We missed you, but we were able to hold the fort while you were gone. So I just want to thank everyone who made our time to join us. Thank you for all your questions. Thank you for paying attention to our speakers, Oladayo, Babatunde, and Abdul. Thank you so much for your awesome presentations. If you want to get in touch with any of the speakers, if you have questions you would like answered, don't forget, you can always shoot me a mail, tosin@checkitapp.com, and I will make sure I answer you speedily. This recording will also be made available to everyone who registered for the webinar. So be on the lookout. Check your emails between now and most likely tomorrow. The recording will be sent to you to be able to digest this information at your own convenience. Till we'll see again. Check It always organizes powerful webinars like this. Hopefully we'll still have one or two more come up before the end of the year. So be on the lookout. Follow us on social media. We are on Instagram, we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter at Check It App, and then on LinkedIn, find us, Check It Technologies Corp. And we'll do well to bless you with awesome information. So thank you guys for joining us, and have a great Friday, a great Thursday. Sorry. Bye, guys.